Hey there, welcome to Parenting Challenging Kids. If your house has felt a little bit unhinged this summer, you're not alone. This is a big transition we have coming up with back to school, and it can bring a lot of stress for all kinds of families, especially for those that are raising neurodivergent kids, kids with ADHD, kids that have had emotional stress or distress or trauma. Maybe even if you're ADHD, you may be looking forward to the school year or dreading the school year. I don't know where you're at, but here's what I'm noticing, just kind of across the board with parents, is that they're kind of done with the whole let's just let them figure it out method. And I believe parents are wanting to shift into something more grounded, more clear. Tell me what to do, not just to understand, why they're having this behavior. So structure is not about control. It's really about clarity. And I want to talk about that today because it is really about creating that sense of calm for everyone. And I'm going to walk you through how to create some routines that will actually help you, even if your child resists structure, even if they're older or everything feels kind of chaotic right now. So back to school, it's not just a date on the calendar. It is transition. And transitions are really hard on the brain, especially if your child is really struggling with task initiation, emotional regulation, sensory processing, or just big feelings in general. And in the past, I've coached parents through this, like telling kids oh, I know you're anxious about school and all of that, but the brain actually really craves predictability and it feels safer when it knows what's coming. So we want to make sure that we are letting them know what's coming and we're building that structure, but we're not making them afraid of it. And this is good news because this season from switching from summer to back to school, even if you homeschool your kids, is still an opportunity to reset. So instead of dreading that shift, you can actually look forward to it because your child's brain is ready to be in that in a flexible state, adapt to change. And this is just a natural time period to kind of set up some of that helpful structure. So when I said, parents are like ditching the let them figure it out, idea, in a lot of families that I've worked with, parents have really tried to give their kids a lot of freedom and, helping them to make choices, giving them tons of choices. And sometimes that's worked. But more often than not, I hear that they don't know what to do with all the freedom. They don't just shut down. Sometimes they spiral, or they might spend 12 hours gaming. And this might be true. This might be especially true with your older kids. Your younger kids need the structure and the routines to help them to continue to grow and move forward, but your older kids need it too. And it's not just laziness. It's not just that they had a lazy summer or there were no expectations. It's executive functioning overwhelm. And so we really have to help our kids to know what to do. And part of why I'm not a big fan of giving a lot of, not even giving choices, but just expecting kids to make good choices and giving them lots and lots of options or just telling them to come up with options is that there's part of it that has to do with their executive functioning and their inability to be able to do that. But there's also decision fatigue that we get as adults that for our kids is anxiety. And I've seen kids have complete meltdowns and anxiety over too many choices, too many options. And so this is a time to kind of step in and see yourself as a guide and not just, I just put all the options in front of them and I know that they'll make a good choice. It's actually not going to work for you if your child is neurodivergent. They need to know what's expected. And sometimes the choices that we're giving them are between 2 or 3 things that are all equally fine. And we can release their anxiety by just saying here's what we're going to be doing tonight and giving them more limited choices, because it isn't really about being strict. It's just about being consistent and connected, and it's the opposite of chaos, right? It's not control, it's clarity. It's giving them a clear path and helping them know what that is, instead of just expecting them to know, like, you had all these choices to do the right thing and you're not doing it. And I see this a lot with teens, where we just expect them to be able to manage their day and do all the things that we tell them to do, even if we're not there with them. And if your child's neurodivergent, it's a bit much to do without that input and that help, and it's not going to set you up with great success, and your kids are going to really fight against that, and that's going to come across as if they're lazy or defiant, and that's not what we want. So let's talk about what actually does work. There are a few structures that are easy to implement and don't require perfection. None of parenting is perfection. I mean, there are days when we're like, yes, I nailed it, but there, more often than not, it's like, oh gosh, like, I hope I handled that right. And so I want to give you some structure so that you can kind of bounce around in that. And remember, it's not about being perfect. It's about working on building those routines and that consistency and the connection. So the first one is morning and evening anchors. And I would start this before school starts. So if your school in my area is starting next week, it's not too late. Like, we want to start doing that, even if it's through the weekend. It doesn't have to be with neurodivergent kids, especially, and even with younger kids. I'm not a big fan of having the weekend schedule be so completely different as far as like the bedtime routines and morning routines. Like, we can keep things very similar. So morning and evening anchors, you're going to start and end the day kind of the same way, with like 2 to 3 simple steps, and you're going to be consistent about that. So you're going to set up a consistent time. This is one of the things you're going to keep the same. You're going to have a consistent time. If you're going to differ on the weekend, then it's really just got to be like an hour. It can't be hours, like, because it just sets them their natural rhythm and everything off balance. It's kind of like if we have a late night, then we can get right back on schedule, rather than thinking like, well, this whole week is going to be late and the sun's not going down, and so we're just not going to do it. It's like, no, we want to start building that up. Eating before they do anything else in the morning. This is what I like to do is set up that they get ready. They do the thing that is, that maybe they don't want to do. So if it's making the bed, then you may have to be in there with them, but it's like, before you get out here to have breakfast, you have to be dressed, or you have to have your hair combed, or your bed has to be made. I don't know if anybody even makes their bed anymore, but I've been kind of in this realm where everything's kind of chaotic, so I'm not sure. But that used to be a rule that was when I grew up, and with my kids, they had to have some things done before they get to, do the next thing, and then review what's going to happen that day. Here's the things that we have planned. If you are working on a more structured schedule, you can have it visible, like have it written down so they see. I love whiteboards for this. In the evening, your evening anchors, you're going to have some routines of what you do. So after dinner, everybody, helps clear the table and put things away. We might do a little bit of chores because we've been sitting there. Also look at, having a timer for building your kids' tolerance for being able to sit and be at the table. It may be short at first, but then we're kind of building that. And then we go and we do this thing together where we all pitch in, and then we get ready for bed before we do anything else. So if there's something that they like in the evening, like I love to have family reading time, family games, or, even a walk, they may need to, get some other things done first. In the nighttime, when they're going to go to sleep, it needs to be very consistent. The lights are dimmed. There's no more stimulation after a certain period of time, especially from screens. You may talk a little bit about the next day. All the devices are in the docking station, whatever it is, that it doesn't have to be 47 steps. It just needs to have a consistent rhythm. And I think this is where parents get really frustrated, is they think because they have a system, a consistent rhythm, or they have a routine, they're mad because the kids are not just following it. This is together. Like, this is us creating this together. And kids that are neurodivergent, they need you to be in on this together and help them through that. If you're just expecting them, like, after dinner, you're supposed to go brush your teeth. Like, why do I have to tell you this all the time? It's going to create almost the opposite effect of what you're trying to create. We're moving into a pleasant evening, or we're waking up into a pleasant morning, and you're there to support and guide. And that can help a lot. The other thing that is been coming across my attention is visual schedules and calendars that are a little bit different. There's a new one called Skylight Calendar for families. I don't get any cuts, darn it, off of this, but it has been just flying off the shelves. It's a digital calendar that you can mount on the wall, and it syncs with Google Calendar. It's easy to use. It's great for visual learners. It's been a game changer for some of the ADHD families that I work with. So I'm old school. I like a whiteboard. I like things written out, people to know what's coming. A week at a time is more than enough. And for a lot of our kids, just knowing the schedule for the day is plenty. But there's visuals for our everything, especially with executive functioning lags. Even older kids benefit from that. I remember when my older kids were in high school and their friends were like, oh, wow, like your mom is organized. It wasn't about being organized. And my son said that. He said, well, she's got, I had 5 kids at the time, and she's like, she has to keep track of all this stuff. So if you don't want to buy something, a whiteboard works, a printable weekly chart for chores, this Skylight Calendar, you can, put chores on it. Whatever. The key is that it's visible and that you guys are viewing it together, and that it's yours. It automatically puts you in control if you are the one that writes on that. It's not anybody else's. They can have a separate place, a sticky note or whatever, if there's things that they want to do or that are coming up, but the schedule is yours. And that's the same thing with school, right? Like, they get a little bit of say on some things, but basically the school kind of sets the tone in the schedule, and that gives you a place of authority, basically. Like, this is mine, this is what we're going to do this week. Parents decide that, and we always take input from the family, but not in the moment, like not once it's decided. All right. So a family reset meeting can, and don't make it long and drawn out. I've known some family meetings or councils can be drawn out for way too long, and everybody's bored and mad by the end of it. But you're just going to do like a quick Sunday night check-in, 10 minutes. That's it. Just go over the weekly schedule and who needs what, and maybe get some meal ideas and one thing that each person wants to focus on, and just help the kids to learn planning skills, because that's an executive function skill that they really, really need. And they need to feel like a team member and not just a passenger in this whole thing. So you're going to have clear daily expectations, and I think you can post those everywhere so that everyone can see them. Like I had these in the bathroom and in the kitchen when kids were helping. It's like, these 3 things have to be done, and usually it was like brush your teeth, rinse the sink, wipe off the counter. It was just something really quick and simple. It could be get dressed and ready before this time. Did homework done before game time, dishes done after dinner, lights out by 9:30. So just clear expectations, consistent, way less arguing. Kids are going to still want to test them, but these boundaries also help them to feel safe. And when you're not mad at them because they're not just doing it, it helps lower so much of the chaos and the frustration, because this is what we're doing, this is how we're doing it, and it does take a lot of repetition because we're building skills. So when you think about building skills in anything, it takes a lot of practice. How do we get better at handwriting? By practicing. How do we get better, at baseball? By throwing the ball a lot. Like, what if we just looked at executive functioning skills the same way, instead of thinking like, I told you 3 times, how to do that. It's like, yeah, it's an executive functioning skill. They're going to need a lot of practice. And luckily, our kids are going to give us a lot of practice, and family life gives us a lot of time to work on it. So I like to also consider before school starts. some first quarter goal setting. So this is a great time to look at setting some goals, not for the whole year, although they may tell you, some things for the whole year. And they don't always have to be academic. They could be, they want to work on getting to bed earlier. They want to turn their homework in more consistently. But I like to ask them specifically. These are some questions I like to ask, especially with kids that are like maybe 5th or 6th grade and above, is what kind of grades do you want to get this year? And be ready, because some of your kids are going to be like, I just want to pass. And so that's fine. Like, that's like, okay, I get it that you just want to pass. Here's our family expectation. We want you to get, whatever it is, and make sure that if you're looking for A's and B's out of your kids, especially your neurodivergent kids, that they have the buy-in. They have to want that too. Otherwise, it's not going to happen. But if you're content with B's and C's, then there's just some things that we can do that can help them, that's very basic, to just stay in that range. And this might be a year, depending on how much your kid is growing or what they went through last year, that's our goal. Like, our goal is to just stay consistent. I don't want to see big highs and big lows, so and then you're going to help them. Like, how are we going to do that? Like, I've had kids tell me, like, I want to get A's and B's. It's like, okay, so what will it take? How do we get there? Like, and then they come up with some of these things. Like, I'm going to need to go to bed earlier. I'm going to need to make sure I turn my homework in. Okay, great. How would you like some help? How would you like me to help with that? And I like to be brainstorming and writing these things down. And it's not to hold their feet to the fire about it, but it's to be a guide and to come alongside them and help them. Maybe their goal is to make one new friend this year, to reach out to kids that nobody else talks to. It can be all kinds of things, and you're going to set it together. You're going to write it down, and then you're going to check in with it. And then when it comes, like they didn't turn something in, it's not to punish them. Or, these are their goals. It's like, like, you're going to have a hard time meeting your goals. Like, what can we do to make that better? And just realize, like, this thing of raising kids is, I think, all kids, but especially with neurodivergent kids, this is something that we have to come alongside. It's not working to just let our kids just figure it out and just expect them to do better without that input from the adults around us that is like that, let's go do it. Doesn't mean doing it for them. I don't want you to get into that trap where you're making everything easy for them. It's helping them as they're wrestling with these challenges and as they're doing that. So let me leave you with this. You do not need a perfect system. You don't need 45-step checklist. I think sometimes the things that we set up is just so much, right? Like, we don't want that. You need a few intentional structures, that ones that your family can really stick to. And structure is going to bring that safety, and routines are going to bring calm. And that approach, like, when you don't know anything, like you don't know when school's starting or what's happening or who their teacher is, all those things, like that creates more anxiety. Like, know the things, like, help them, like, to be calm about it. It's like, you know what, like, I know last year was rough, but at the end of the year, but I think this year is going to be a good year, and look forward to it and help them to see that. Don't be moaning and groaning about, I can't believe school started and I hate this or whatever. Like, this is a portion, a great big portion of your kids' life that is spent at school. And even if they're not in a regular school setting, learning is so important. We want to create that safety in that environment so that can happen. You deserve that. You deserve it to be calmer, and not just your kids, right? Like, this is all so important. So if you want more tools or support, look in the bio and look at and see the links that are available to you. I would love to help you go deeper by, helping you to join the playroom or one of the coaching options. It's so important. So look at that, at those links, and get in contact with me. Like, I just want to help make this school year one where your family feels more connected, more confident, and a little less chaotic. You got this. Let's go do it.